Hey guys, it's Tia. Welcome to the video. Hope you're doing well. So today I'm going to be giving you my take on whether print on demand is too competitive nowadays, which stems from questions I get relating to, competition and do I even stand a chance in print on demand? There's so many people doing print on demand now. Is it even something that's worth trying? And I think it's a reasonable question because even though obviously you'll never know unless you try something, whether you're going to be wasting your time doing something is still a reasonable concern. And the more information that you can get from people who have done it before, the more you can actually use that to make a decision. And this isn't for things just like print on demand. It can include e-commerce. So a lot of people ask me, is e-commerce a scam? Are people actually making money with this? How can you just make money from nothing for free online? How is that even possible? That's why I'm going to be trying to explain it in a way that most people can understand today and just give you a big picture of how people are actually making money with this so that it makes sense in your head. Hopefully that's the aim of this video. If you're a print on demand beginner or someone who hasn't yet started and you're wondering whether this is for you, or if you're somebody that's tried it and hasn't seen results, then maybe this video will help you sort of make sense of the whole concept behind it and how people actually make money with it. So the key word here is competition, and we're going to start off with the definition of competition, which is essentially being better than other people in order to become successful or gain an advantage or do whatever you want to do, right? So let's forget about print on demand for a minute and talk about what this would look like in a real life scenario that people could probably relate to better. So how hard do you think it is to get a tech job at Google? Google is one of the most competitive companies. They have around several thousand jobs, let's just say 2,000, right? And they have over 2 million applicants every year. So that's a lot of people trying to get into a limited space for jobs. Obviously, some people have a higher chance of success than others. You might be, smarter. You might have went to a certain university. You might have been in the tech space for longer. Honestly, I don't know what people are looking for in Google, but the average applicant has a 0.1% success rate. Now, that's not a great success rate. It's apparently more competitive than getting into Harvard University, so I'm sure we can all agree that's pretty competitive. But what about print on demand? So let's equate getting a tech job at Google, which is something that a lot of people obviously want and it pays reasonably well, to getting a spot for your listing on the first page of Etsy in the dog niche. Okay, so let's say you're selling dog shirts and you want to get on the first page. Now, obviously you can make money without being on the first page and you can do all other kinds of stuff. Let's just say hypothetically you only really stand a chance at making any sort of good money on the first page. So how many results are there on the first page of Etsy when you search for dog shirt? There's 64 results, right? And how many results are there in total? So how many people are designing in this, which is not even including just print on demand designers, so independent sellers as well, selling with other different methods? 348,771 results. So that's a 0.02% success rate, which is about a fifth of the success rate that you would have if you were to apply to Google. So it's not looking great so far. What else do we have to take into consideration? Well, sellers that have been up for longer are probably more likely to be on the first page, okay, because every print on demand website or e-commerce website ranks people differently. But for a lot of them, an important factor is how long you've been on the website. So sites like Redbubble, they don't really refresh their index. So if you're the first person to a new trend and you get on the first page, you're likely to stay there. But then anybody that tries to make a design after that, they get pushed down and it's hard to sort of come up. For things like Etsy, every time a listing's renewed, it gets bumped up a little bit in the rankings. So time might not be as much of an advantage, but it still matters, okay? Because the more sales you get over time, the more a listing is bumped up in the rankings. So if you're a new seller, then that definitely slides the odds against you because you're new and all these people have been having their listings on the platform for so long. So if we go back to the Google analogy, let's think about why we're trying to get a job at Google in the first place, right? So we want a job in the first place so we can earn money. Google pays a reasonable salary. I'm not really sure how much it pays. It's enough for you to feed your family and live a reasonable, comfortable life. But other companies can do that as well, right? So if you're not as confident in your tech abilities as some of the other applicants, then why not try applying to a different company? Let's not start with things like Facebook just yet. Let's go to smaller companies. Let's say they all have around 2,000 jobs available, right? So let's go to one with less of a reputation, but less applicants as well. So maybe you'll have one with 20,000 applicants instead of 2 million. And then you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting a job, right? Increases your chances significantly. So if your goal is just to get a tech job and make money, then you don't have to be going for the big companies first, right? You can massively increase your chances just by choosing other companies and doing a little bit of research and seeing, where has less applicants but is still a reasonable company to work for. Let's equate this to print on demand. So you're trying to sell stuff in the dog niche. Why are you even going for the dog niche to begin with, right? So in our previous case, we could argue, you want a job at Google because it's a reputable company, you'll look smart, it's like clout or whatever, yada yada, okay? But for the dog niche, who cares what niche you're selling in, right? You might really just love dogs. A lot of people also love dogs, and it's one of the first niches people think of when they say, what should I design for a t-shirt? Is I love dogs, I love cats, right? And in all these results, you're going to get a lot of people who are very talented and very good designers, or, very good with their SEO, or you might get a bunch of famous people with a massive following, and then, they use advertising and their social media followings to direct all their fanboys, fangirls to buy their shirt, right? There's a lot of people that you can't compete with. Just like in the Google example, there's going to be a lot of people smarter than you who are better than you at doing the job. So it's going to be difficult, not impossible, but difficult to compete with them, right? And like working at Google, if you get on the front page of the dog niche, then you're likely to be earning a better amount of money than most people selling print on demand. But the major difference here is nobody cares what niche you're selling in, right? You're not going to get extra clout or something for being on the first page of Etsy for the dog niche for print on demand, right? Compared to, if you're working at Google, they've got perks there, What's to stop you selling a squirrel shirt, for example, or something that's less competitive? So now we're thinking about avoiding the competition altogether, and that would be great, except for the fact that a lot of people have thought of that. So there's a lot of squirrel shirts, there's a lot of shirts in every niche, and that's when people have started to niche down further and further, dog shirts for mums, dog shirts for granddads. And then that's when people get into making these niches that are almost ridiculous, like unicorn loving chef dad that goes biking on a Sunday or whatever, stuff like that, right? And that's where we don't want to be getting into, because yes, those things are niche, they have low competition, but are people actually searching for them? Possibly. Probably not. So to give ourselves the best chance of making sales with print on demand or e-commerce, whatever you're trying to sell a product, right? We need to be thinking about, first of all, reducing our competition as far as possible. And secondly, choosing topics that people are searching for and not just topics that we make up from our heads, because, they may get sales if you're familiar with it, if you've been doing it for a long time. It may get you results, okay, but if you're just a beginner, then it would be best to validate your niche, and by that I mean check that people are actually searching for it, so people are actually going to see it. You're actually going to get traffic to your listings, right? And to help us do these two things, we have a bunch of research tools. So for Redbubble, we've got things like Bubble Scout, we've also got Bubble Trends, the popular tags tool, we've got Merch Titans, Flying Upload. These are all tools that help us find niches or topics that people are actually looking for but have low competition. Now you'll see that this is a running theme, not just in print on demand, but other aspects of making money online as well. So we've got Jungle Scout, Helium 10 for Amazon FBA kind of stuff. We've got like Dropship Spy and stuff for people trying to sell on Shopify, that kind of thing, right? So the key is you've got to do market research and see what people are actually trying to buy instead of coming up with stuff on your own. You can do that later when you have more experience, but for now, if your sole purpose is to make money and actually make sales, then those are the two things that you need to be looking out for. So not diving straight into the competition with all these people that have been doing it for years, but actually working your way around it and trying to find those key golden niches which don't have as much competition, but people are still looking for, so you can kind of monopolize that territory, okay? Obviously, while we're doing this, we want to be making ourselves more competitive and more skilled, so improving your design skills, improving your search engine optimization and your advertising skills along the process, okay? These are all things that we can develop as we have more experience, but as a beginner, you probably won't have all these skills yet. So how do you make sure you actually start making sales and then develop alongside, which is a much safer option than, spending a massive amount on a course, which is, all good if you have the money for it, but a lot of people don't. So we need to be thinking about other ways to start making money whilst we're developing our skills at the same time, right? But the whole idea that's driving this is that you need people to see your designs, okay? And this is where a lot of people get it wrong as well. So if you're just making a design but nobody's seeing it, then you're wondering, why is nobody buying it? Well, it's because nobody's seeing it, okay? You don't know whether people like it or not until you have a reasonable amount of traffic. More along the lines of what I was talking about earlier with, the Google analogy and all that, is the SEO based method, which is more passive, using websites like Redbubble, Merch by Amazon, where you just put up a listing and then use keywords that you think people are searching for in your title, your description, and your tags, so that down the line, when somebody randomly searches for, a squirrel shirt one day, yours will pop up in the search, right? Otherwise, how are they supposed to find it? They sometimes can just stumble across it on the internet, on Google Images, randomly, right? But you can't rely on that. You have to make sure that people that are actually interested in the topic that you're designing for can actually see it. And then we have paid advertising, which is a bit more active, but the end goal with paid advertising is always to rank in the search engine, like eventually. So if you're running your own store, for example, on Shopify, you're connecting that to a production partner to do print on demand, right? Then nobody's going to see that because you're not going to rank on Google immediately. So you might get a few sales, but it's very unlikely. So you have to run paid advertising to your shop so that people actually see it, right? Now, the reason I would recommend going the search engine optimization route as a beginner is because you need a certain level of skill to be good at things like Facebook advertising and influencer marketing, especially when you're selling just t-shirts, okay? If it's like a unique product, which is what people do with dropshipping, it might be easier to catch people's attention. But if it's just shirts and clothes, it's better to have your listing on a market that already exists, so there's buyer intent, right? On the topic of buyer intent, paid ads for print on demand definitely convert less because you're trying to put something out there in front of people that they don't know exists. And unless your design is very, very good, or there's something that really resonates with them, that's realistically not going to catch their attention so much as to make them buy it, right? Think about when you're scrolling through social media, Facebook, Instagram, right? If you see even like a really good looking shirt, your first instinct probably isn't to go and buy that shirt. I mean, I may be wrong, but for most people, myself included, you just, like, maybe comment. But the point of social media, whether it's paid or free advertising, is still for entertainment. So people just look at the pictures, they appreciate it, and then they move on, right? But then with SEO, you're putting your design on these products in a marketplace. Why do people come to a marketplace in the first place? Well, they have buyer intent, right? So you don't just go on Amazon looking to be entertained. You go on Amazon to search for stuff to buy. You have your money there and you're looking for something to actually put in your basket. So you've already got that push. You don't have to convince people to buy. If people like it, then they will buy because that's what they're there to do, if that makes sense. That's why paid advertising, it has a lower conversion rate in terms of print on demand than the SEO route. But as I said, the end goal of active advertising on your print on demand store is to get it to rank in the search engine in Google so that it becomes passive eventually. So you want to rank it up in Google, and then when people are searching for your niche, they'll eventually find it, and then you don't have to put in effort to do paid advertising anymore. That's the eventual goal. So those are the two ways that we can get traffic. I've sort of summarized my thoughts on how you can actually maximize your conversion on that traffic. So hopefully that gives you a clearer understanding of how people actually make money with print on demand. So not just diving straight into the competition and trying to compete with all these people that have been doing it for longer and have more skills than you, but actually going around the competition and avoiding it altogether as much as possible using these research tools. Now, the problem arises when a lot of people think of this idea and then everyone's doing it. So now we're creating competition with this research. And that's why you've constantly got to be thinking of new ways to do research as well if you don't have the skills to design or advertise, or you feel like you're not competitive enough for these bigger niches. And the more and more people know about it, the more customers you'll get, which is good, but also the more people that are designing and putting out products there will be. So that's why I'd recommend don't hesitate on it. If you want to have that advantage, then now is the time to start. I thought I was late when I started it, but time goes on and you're always earlier than the people that come after you, right? And with more and more niches being saturated, we've got to keep constantly looking for more niches and also what makes our designs and products unique. That is something that can help you compete as well. well. Got to have a little bit of competitiveness, okay? We can't just rely on getting around the competition all the time, but it's a good start. And if you think about how many people are actually doing print on demand, I mean, it seems like there's a lot, right? But how many people in your life are actually doing it? I don't know anybody else that's doing it apart from me and the people that I've met through the print on demand community, okay? So the amount of sellers compared to people is always going to be less. So always be thinking about how you can be targeting new audiences. As for the details of how to find these niches, how to do your search engine optimization, how to design, I have videos on my channel about the detailed steps. This was more of a big picture kind of concept to help you understand how we do it. So if you're not getting results, or if you're contemplating whether you want to start, then hopefully this video helps you make sense of how this is actually done and makes it more realistic. At least you can justify in your head like how you would be making money with this if you actually tried it, okay? And as I said, this doesn't just go for print on demand, it's a running theme in e-commerce. Even, you know, making money on places like YouTube, you've got to look for your niche. If you're a beginner YouTuber, you've got to create content that people are actually looking for, otherwise nobody knows you, nobody's going to find you, right? And I can extend this to all sorts of situations in real life as well. So, you know, next time somebody tells you something's too competitive, it may well be, but just consider what I said in this video and maybe have a go at it. You'll never really truly know until you try. So hopefully this was kind of like a motivational video and helps you make sense of it all. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video interesting and useful, maybe helps you think about it in a different light, then give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any of my videos. TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter down in the description, and I will see you in the next video.